Hello and welcome to the All About X-Men Comics podcast, where you'll find recaps and reviews of all the most recent X-Men comics, as well as previews for upcoming issues. Please keep in mind this will mean spoilers and is totally uncensored. I'm host Scorpio Moon, a fan who always kept in touch with the X-Men even during my worst comic book reading droughts, and hosting with me is...
Johnny Alpha, somebody who always wanted to keep in touch with some of the X-females, so... But yeah.
Alright, sorry if I started laughing already mid-intro, but couldn't help myself, man. Alright, we've been waiting for this one for a bit, so let's start with X-Men number 7. You open the comic, and the first thing you see is Storm's boobs. Well, I don't know, I mean, maybe your gaze is directed to Rachel's glowing or something, but those things almost literally smacked me in the face. Not that I'm totally complaining. After that intro shot, we meet an equally, if not more, voluptuous trust fund princess who has the consciousness of Lady Deathstrike downloaded into her. She doesn't waste much time using nanites to go all Ghost of Mars on her body, equipping herself with the tech power and dressing herself up into sexy death. Meanwhile, Storm's helping Jubilee legally adopt Shogo, for real, Beast is helping Karma recover and cope with life without her tech power, and M shows up. Karima and M hit it off immediately, but then get attacked while going on a jogging date. Karima running with a gun tucked into her sports bra is both practical and kinda hilarious. M gets this oh-so-protective of Karima already thing going on, and forces the attackers into a technical retreat. I mean, that's putting it too nicely. I mean, she busted them up.
Well, Karima shot the shit out of the bodyguards, and then, she used her tiki to just fuck the cars and everything up. And, I mean, she rolled right up to Lady Deathstrike. She was gonna fuck her up when she psychically read who was actually in the consciousness. It struck her by surprise, so Deathstrike was able to hit her with the door and make a getaway. But otherwise, yeah, dude, like, Deathstrike would have got fucked up right then and there just by M and a half-rehabilitated fucking Prime Sentinels. So, I mean, Jesus. It's really good to see that, like, Lady Deathstrike is planning ahead in this book, though, and I want you to go ahead and give the big reveal to who her new henchman is, which I fucking loved at the end of this issue.
The first of many, anyway. I understand she's putting together a whole new sisterhood, but Typhoid Mary, how about that?
Pow, pow, dude. One of my favorites from old school Daredevil. Like, one of the evilest bitches that you could fucking pull out of the woodwork, man. And this book was just really fun, you know what I mean? From M's mocking of Jubilee, constantly calling her the Queen of the Goth and making fun of her fangs and her kid. Jubilee screaming about how her life was hell and it's high school all over again. I just got a kick out of all of that. When Storm was asking her if she wanted to join the team, she's all like, I want to be, like, hanging out and shit, and you want me to go punch some fucking dudes? And, like, Jubilee had to give her some shit, and then M was just like, I'm not letting that little bitch talk shit. Yeah, I'm in, you know, but what's the team called? I want to know what Rachel's name for it was, because everybody kind of scoffed. Like, it must have been something pretty bad, something pretty, like, you know, like, laughable. I hope they bring that out, like, in the next issue or so we can all be let in on the joke.
The world may never know.
Right. But, yeah, this book was just, I don't know, it oozed femininity and sexiness and just, I don't know, this is what the Jean Grey School should be all about. I mean, I'm going to go off on a little tangent here, but I really think that they should fucking kick Jason Aaron off of X-Men. They should cancel Amazing X-Men. They should let him focus on his Thor, because that's the only thing that he's writing at Marvel that doesn't completely suck balls at the moment. And they should just let Brian Wood write the Jean Grey School, let Brian Bendis write the Xavier School, have the Bryans go to war with each other, have the Bryans have their own teams. And I think that that's the way that they should do it, man, because Jason Aaron's being a buffoon, and you know, Brian Wood is writing the only Jean Grey School book that's even worth, like, looking at the moment.
Yeah, Battle of the Bryans. There's a pairing or a competition for you. I like it. And you know, I think you're really right, Matt, at least in the respect that's like, I think we get enough of the Jean Grey School in the X-Men book. I mean, I know they kind of, like you say, they don't strictly call it, you know, some goofy female X-Men name, but it's like, yeah, we're the X-Men. But it was kind of advertised as kind of being the female X-Men team. Even that being said, it's not like, you know, like men are completely, you know, knocked out of the book. Like, you can have, like, Beast in there and other characters, you know, like a Wolverine had basically an issue with Jubilee. So I think you get enough of the background of what's going on in the Jean Grey School through the characters that we see leading that book.
Right. And I mean, you're getting a little bit of influx with the students. Got Bling talking to Jubilee, and I guess Bling has the hots for Mercury. And I guess that didn't go over too well for her, so now she's going to be after Jubilee's crack, I guess, which is, I don't know. You know, like, the X-Men guys are just loving their lesbianism right now, man. I mean, Sam Humphries ran with it in Uncanny X-Force, and, I mean, it's been popping up quite a bit in, like, these series. So, yeah, I guess Wood decided, like, yeah, I might as well just, like, have some fucking hot crack snacking in my book, too, you know? Right on.
Oh, yeah, I mean, and just keep them coming, I mean, until no one cares anymore. You know, I'd love to get to a point where it really isn't a big deal every time you've got, like, a new homosexual character or a new character of a certain race or gender or whatever. You know, I'd love if we got to the point where that isn't a story in comic books anymore. It's just kind of like, hey, that's another character, that's another thing, and you just kind of go with it.
Right. Yeah, that's the last taboo. That's the one that they really need to still break through. And they're really trying. I mean, they took great strides in Astonishing, having, what's his name, the Canadian guy getting gay married. And then, yeah, like I said, they've been having, like, homosexual relationships here and there pop up with female X-Men and other X-Men. And I don't know, I really hope that it kind of gets past this thing where it's kind of not something that's looked down upon anymore, and it's kind of like how it was in the 70s and 80s when they decided to make the X-Men a racially diverse team, you know, like now that they'll be a racially and sexually diverse team, you know, and that's awesome, you know what I mean? That's looking towards the future.
And if it's going to happen anywhere in comics, the X-Men comics are a great place for it to be happening in.
Yeah, that's the groundbreaking place for anything hot button in Marvel Comics for the most part.
Okay, so pulling ourselves back into the issue, Deathstrike is pretty much the only one to make it out of this whole thing alive in her failed attempt on the school, you know, leaving each side to kind of regroup. The X-Men have to get down to the bottom of why they were attacked, which draws Em and Karima out of retirement, and Lady Deathstrike needs a better team of cronies to help her pull off her plan. So just what is she after? Well, at first she kind of wanted Karima's old parts, you know, she wanted Prime Sentinel tech, until she realizes there's something much better down there, you know, some piece or whatever's left of Archaea, the team's first villain.
That's going to be like the big reveal, like how that's going to work out, and this is going to be a crazy-ass arc, you know what I mean? And Brian Wood's been promising that this is going to be the action X-Men book, you know what I mean? You get the drama and the silly from everybody else. This is going to be the ass-kicker book, and I really, from this issue, I can see that it's going that way. Damn, did they get their asses kicked. I mean, you're selling it lightly. She's the only one that made it out alive, but the thing is they didn't even make it within, like, a few miles of the school without getting all three of their Suburbans and all their dudes just trashed. Her plan was more than flawed. She got fucked up. I mean, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Not even two of really the strongest. I mean, I guess, you know, M's never been used properly. She has an incredible power set. She's psychic. She's got telekinesis. She's super strong. She's almost unhurtable, and she can fucking fly. I don't understand why she's not used more often. Like, even in her whole run at X Factor, I don't even think she's done anything as hardcore as what she's done in this one issue of X-Men since Woods brought her on. So I'm really happy to see that they're, like, actually using her to her potential for once.
Yeah, man, really just let her cut loose. And, you know, they kind of show, like, the point of view thing, too, where it's like you blink, and it's almost like you missed it. But, you know, she just, like, whirlwinds around and, like, you know, Tasmanian devils the fuck out of everything.
For real. And I didn't even know her telekinesis was that strong. Usually in X Factor, they just had her flying around punching everything. I mean, damn, you know, she's got some oomph to her.
Yeah, man. Now, if I had one little nitpick about the end of the issue, I mean, even Deathstrike's new motivation seems kind of small. I mean, I like her going after, you know, new tech to improve herself, but there is so much more worth stealing in that school. I mean, they've got a freaking time machine. I mean,
well, that was the thing that she was going off of at the end. That's why she was so pissed, because she downloaded this shit that was like, it was way dated. Like, from what she saw, Karima the Prime Sentinel was still supposed to be in stasis. You know, she didn't even know that bitch was awake. She didn't know Im was there. She didn't know any of the school's defenses. You know what I mean? She was very caught off guard by what she thought she knew going in. That's the whole reveal, and that's why she was that's why she really wanted to put together a better team of, you know, hard hitters and intel gatherers, you know, if she's going to try to fight the X-Men, you know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, she just really made it look like amateur hour out there.
Right? I mean, honestly, like, Storm and them didn't even have to get their Im, and some chick that didn't even have powers just had a Browning 9mm fuck them up.
I'll give her a pass, though, because she's bringing us back the old good classic Typhoid Mary. I mean, last time I remember seeing her, she had like a mask over her face and swords coming out of her wrists.
I'm just happy to see her, because she's a really cool, really powerful villain that, you know, you kind of don't ever see her unless you're actually reading Daredevil, or if you're a Daredevil nerd like I am.
But, honestly, if I have one real takeaway from this issue, it's all about the sexy, man. I mean, it's midriff-bearing, cleavagey, ripped jeans, hips and curves. I mean, if anyone has any advice on how to celebrate all this without sounding too crude, I'd love to hear it, because they've really dialed it up all of a sudden.
Yeah, man, this was a return to Bad Girls. I'm not going to say it's like totally back to the Jim Lee Liefeld, big guns, bigger boobs era, but it definitely was hearkening to that a bit, you know what I mean? It wasn't a full return, but it was a celebration. It was an homage to that era, this issue, at least.
Yeah, man, that's just a real strong impression I was left with. But okay, let's do thumbs up or thumbs down and buy it or skip it.
I'm going to go thumbs up. Because I really just enjoyed it. I really like the new characters that have come into the fold in this. I like the new Deathstrike. Like you said, she is all Ghosts of Mars looking and in appearance and attitude, which is one of my favorite films, by the way. And I'm going to say buy it because the book's still in its infancy. It only had a few issues before Battle of the Atom popped off, and this comes on as a really good jump-on point as well, so buy it. This is a great issue.
Yeah, thumbs up for me here, too. Thumbs up for a slick-moving story, clean and tantalizing visual art. This arc is off to a great start. And I'll go buy it. It's a great reintroduction where old allies make for new friends, old enemies make for new threats, and if you need it, a great jumping-on point. Moving right along to Uncanny X-Men number 14. Now, apparently the solicits for this issue describe Magneto going on some kind of secret mission, which is not at all what happened, and I hadn't even read them till just now, but I mean, we know they're garbage anyway, so whatever. I'm not gonna let them break my stride, because this issue was just so entertaining. The preview page is released for the first few pages of the book, so like we talked about before, Cyclops is running his school like a boot camp, making the kids climb up muddy hills and shit. Benjamin Deeds, my new favorite character, can't really do it, and as Cyclops berates him about how his weakness is going to get him killed, Benny mouths off and verbally pones Psyche. Scott plays the old go-ahead-and-hit-me game, and after he more or less swings and misses, Cyclops just pushes him back down. It comes off pretty harsh, but like usual, Psyche does kind of have a point. So Benny is pretty down in the dumps, and Triage tries to cheer him up, telling him Cyclops probably respects him that he at least tried to hit him. But Benny doesn't want to hear it. He just wants to hit the showers and go to bed. But when he gets to his room, though, a very sexed-up Emma Frost is in there waiting for him. At first, I thought for a second she was going to try and just straight up have sex with him to make him feel more empowered against Cyclops. But
it seemed that way. It seemed that way, man. She's all in there. She got that Black Punisher-esque looking dress. She looked like she was ready to do some fucking. I thought Benji was in for a ride, you know what I mean? But he did get a ride, but in a different style.
Yeah, I mean, what we got, probably works a lot better, trust me, So Emma wants to get down to the bottom of what his power is. All we really know so far is that he can make himself kind of look like other people. But, he's got to be more than a half-assed shapeshifter. They just, haven't had much time to develop his character yet. Emma gets him all stressed out in a way that even Cyclops couldn't, and discovers his shapeshifting is just another circumstance of his power. He has some kind of like a hypnotizing thing, like a convincing charm thing going on. It ties into all the senses, and his slight mirroring of people's appearance is just one way that he puts them at ease. This is one of my favorite things in comics, learning about the nature of your powers and in what different and creative ways you can use them. So Emma decides to make him a covert ops guy for sure, and immediately goes about testing him, his first training session being at a nightclub. By the way, Emma and Magic, little black dresses.
Oh my.
Do I need to play the clip early?
Hell no. And the whole thing, like, do you want to rob this place? Yeah, maybe after we see how the kid does. The fucking line killed me, man.
Yeah, they get those great little moments in there, for sure, man, for sure. For his final test, or what he thinks it is anyway, he's supposed to walk a ladder up to the top floor of a financial building. But, as a stranger, of course, he's supposed to try and blend in and, be covert and shit and not just get kicked out or arrested or whatever. So he pulls it off, and then when the guy at the top opens this letter, and if you're not really playing along, just like reading excitedly and not overthinking it, you might be thinking, this letter could be anything, like, I was almost kind of expecting a joke, but I certainly wasn't expecting, let me just read you the letter that gets sent. Someone in your organization is creating mutant hunting sentinels and trying to kill my people. Stop them or we are going to war. Yours truly, Scott Summers. Oh, that is just great. It's a secret shield building. After that, Benjamin is immediately surrounded by agents with guns, but Magic quickly ports him out of there and back to the school, where it's all pats on the back and friendly shoulder punches from Cyclops and, good job, boyo, that's how you'll be on X-Men. But you still gotta train to fight, yada yada yada.
Yeah, man, just a really feel-good issue. I mean, honestly, I think this is probably one of my favorite issues of X-Men I've ever read. I mean, ever. This made me feel better than any of those astonishing books that we used to talk about the feel-good comics being. And I don't know, just from the first panel, you got, for some reason, everybody else dressed, gym-like. I mean, you look at the Cuckoos and Emma and all them, like, they're dressed for, like, we're going to be out doing field exercises. But not Tempest, no. She's in her little mini dress thing at the top of the hill. All the dudes are behind her, and Goldballs is, like, right behind her, like, embarrassed that he's caught looking up her fucking little skirt. Lord knows what she had under there, because he really looks ashamed of himself in the first panel when he's asking her what's up, and she's telling him, I don't know, I'm not the boss. And from there, yeah, dude, we get some clever lip from good old Benji Boy Dietz, and he gives it to Psych. I really like the way he berates Psych's power. And yeah, the punch is hilarious with the little But then, yeah, you kind of really thought that, like, dude, this is just going to be, like, a fucked up, depressing issue. And then, like, yeah, all of a sudden, like, bang, you get the shower scene, and there's Emma. And then, like, she's like, well, where do you want to go? And he's like, I always wanted to go to Atlantic City. Even though he's a homosexual, she was able to still seduce him into doing what she wanted. I liked that, like, it didn't work at first. He actually had to learn to use his powers on something that he was interested in. It was only until he met the chick that was into Kubrick where he was able to be comfortable enough with himself to let his powers actually work and make her comfortable with him and actually start learning how to use his morph powers to really just win these people over, because that's what he does. He emits something that just, I don't know, it makes you feel like you've known him forever, and of course he changes himself to look slightly like you, so he's familiar. It's a really clever idea that they've come up with this character, and then yeah, the end game of having him walk into S.H.I.E.L.D. with a, we know what you're doing, so fuck you, letter, and it was, I don't know, it was as gangster as you can get. And then, yeah, Psych still, you did a good job, and I still had to pull it off with that fucking Scott Summers dickiness that you still fight like a little bitch, so get up early in the morning and we're gonna box, But great fucking issue. I mean, they don't write them like this anymore, or at least I didn't think they did. And this was just fucking, in the words of a genius that we both know, a total delight.
Yeah, man, it really was just too great. It really blew away my expectations for the issue, just blew them right out of the water. Blew the water, however you want to put it. And of course the naming scene, because he doesn't really have a code name yet. They reference Morph as a possibility, which was very, very cool. And then, of course, one of the very last lines, too bad Goldballs was taken.
Yeah. And then, yeah, he's just like, yeah, man, that is a shame, Sarcastically, of course, but yeah, just almost as perfect as a fucking issue can get. Like you said last week, I mean, this was another series that just showed, this book was so amazing, it just showed how awful Amazing X-Men was. The same as the all-new X-Men book did last week.
Yeah, it's almost kind of the same thing where it's like, as much as I didn't like that book, is how much I liked this book. I mean, the whole thing is so great. You start off pissed off, and at the end of the book, it's almost like a sitcom kind of happy ending, like, good lesson learned and all that, have a cookie or whatever, like, just so, like, warm and feel good and stuff at the end. It was really too much. But, so are we sure about the whole thing with Benny being a homosexual?
He's pretty headstrong about it with Emma. She was telling him, go over there and mac on that fucking hot blonde, and he's like, but I'm gay, and she's just like, bitch, go do it, you know what I mean? I ain't telling you to sleep with her, man. This is part of your training. You gotta like, learn to hit on people that you're not attracted to, you know what I mean? To, like, be a covert op.
Well, I mean, unless there was something that I just don't remember from a previous issue, like, I'm pretty sure this is a pretty new thing. Just the way it kind of came off in the book, it almost kind of seemed like he was trying to use it, like, as an excuse, or just kind of like he was just kind of scared and just said it. It was like trying to, an excuse to get out of it.
Well, it has been brought up, but they haven't really painted it since, like, he first mentioned it when he first showed up. And I think that he really was kind of, like, using it as, like, but I don't want to type of thing,
Alright, cool, man, cool, yeah. Man, it's one of those things where it's almost like, I mean, I guess you should celebrate diversity, and that's like a thing we should come to some days, when you can celebrate all the people's little differences. But it's kind of those things where it's like, I don't want to make a big issue about it, because I don't want it to be a big deal.
No, and I really hope that they don't make it you know what I mean? And they haven't yet. I mean, it was just one little line in this. I think you only kind of just mentioned it in passing in the book where he first. It was either an issue of All New or one of the first issues of Uncanny where he shows up on the team. And yeah, that's kind of like one of the things that he kind of said like outright first about himself. But you know, that's kind of how people are that are living out loud. They're proud to tell people. So good for Benny.
Yeah, man, totally. Good for Benny. So let's go thumbs up or thumbs down and buy it or skip it.
Well, I mean, like, you really got to ask at this point. Yeah, dude, I got to go thumbs up, thumbs way up. Like I said, this is probably one of the best issues I've probably ever read of X-Men. And buy it, because it really is great, and we're coming right off the backbone of Battle of the Atom, so yeah, jump on point. After this, I think we're going to get a closer look at some of the other characters that we've kind of only met in passing, and we've kind of only got a glimpse of their powers. I think that we're probably going to get to see what's going on with Triage, and with Tempest, and with Gold Balls a little bit more. So, I mean, like, this will be a great time to get involved in the all-new Uncanny X-Men book, which, if you're not reading, and you're an X-Men fan, I don't know what's wrong with you, so...
For real. Thumbs up here, too. Just like with the last issue of All New X-Men, it's dark and grim, yet comical and warm at the same time. You couldn't possibly strike a more perfect balance for an X-Men comic in this day and age. And I'll also go buy it. Single issues of Uncanny generally work pretty well on their own anyway, and this one especially takes you on a nice little one-issue journey and was a very satisfying read. Moving on to A plus X number 14. So Magneto and Doc Ock's Spidey sounded like a pretty fun team-up, and when Magneto started very ironically making fun of supervillains, I thought we might at least get some interesting deconstruction talk, but really all it was another excuse for the superior Spider-Man to comically flip out whenever someone so much as, references something somewhat insulting to Doc Ock. As for the story, should we even care what happens? I mean, the snarky little intro just bashes on continuity. And while I guess they think they're being funny, they basically make a great case for why I just shouldn't even care.
Yeah, and I mean, there was like allusions, I guess, for 8-bit video game fanboys in there a little bit that, I don't know, it was supposed to be clever, but I thought was just kind of like, alright, wow, that's just a great plot device to try to just fucking skip over some stuff that might have actually been interesting in this fucking hunk of shit issue.
Yeah, I didn't really get the point of that either. I guess maybe they think random is funny. But I mean, in case you care, it was basically just an origin story for a possible mutant villain, who you may never see again, but if you do, we'll probably start from the beginning anyway, with, at most, maybe a reference to this crap. It was kind of cool to see Magneto trash MODOK with just a hand gesture. There probably should be more battles that are just that one-sided and end that quickly. So, thanks for an entertaining page. But, anyway, on to Psyche and Cap. So Cyclops is already out of the multitude of other handcuffs thanks to his trick shooting with his optic blast, and Captain America agrees to work with him to stop just this one invasion, but then he's back under arrest, blah, blah, blah. So Cap is working with another murderer here.
Yeah, I mean, Cap's just morally flexible nowadays, you know what I mean? Just completely bendable and pliable to any kind of murderous situation.
So they stop by a S.H.I.E.L.D. safe house, because they want to get some intel. And what was probably one of the more interesting things to happen in the book. It's kind of cool that S.H.I.E.L.D. has specific protocols in place for when you have to make alliances with known fugitives. So, the super secret-y spy aspect of it is kind of cool. When they learn that Dr. Doom is holding one of these Skrulls captive, they decide to go break international law to pay him an unannounced visit. Cap, by the way, is a lot smarter and a lot less retarded in this compared to last issue. But when Cyclops has a power out and his eye beams fizzle, Cap decides he can't take Doom on his own and has to walk away, hanging his head in shame with a consolation prize of a dead prisoner. Or at least, that's what I think. I mean, maybe he'll fight him on his own, who knows. That was pretty much our cliffhanger for the issue, though.
Yeah, you actually saw positive things in this book. I mean, I guess, yeah, they did write Cap a little bit more intelligent, but he's just about as annoying and as stupid. You know what I mean? I really don't like the approach that they're using with the character, and I really wish that they'd fucking just try to put a little bit of maturity on this. You know what I mean? I get that they want this book to just be asinine, but I mean, Jesus, we're going to be covering another book that came out this week that plays with really silly, asinine things, but it's a lot of fun because there is some stuff where they go ahead and try to make it a bit intelligent. Of course, I'm talking about Long Shot Saves the Marvel Universe, and it's like, I don't see why there's these two books that run along these parallel lines, and one fucking gets it, and it's only going to run 4 issues, and most people are never going to read it, and then we got this ongoing shit that's, I don't know, it's just garbage, dude. A+X is fucking garbage.
And come on, Jerry, you write Cat better in Deadpool. Why couldn't you do it here, Mr. Duggan?
Right. At first, I thought the Skrull Brotherhood of Evil Mutants guy sounded cool. Now I don't care if I see him, man. This book is just so inane, just asinine. I mean, like, I could go through a thesaurus of just, like, all the kind of stupid words I can think of to say how stupid I think this fucking issue was.
Yeah, but then it becomes a 2-hour show about A+X. And that's just awful. We wouldn't do that to you guys. So let's mercifully just move into thumbs up or thumbs down and buy it or skip it.
Yeah, thumbs down. This book is just degrading all the time, and, skip it. There's nothing worth reading here at all. There's a cool cover, but that's not worth the price of the shitty-ass issue.
Yeah, thumbs down. There are a couple things I guess I got a kick out of, but it's just too juvenile a comic for my taste. And skip it. I mean, maybe once we have the full sight Cap story, that'll be like a half-decent read, but there are definitely better places to spend your money. Like Wolverine Max number 13! Okay, and Wolverine Max number 13 is also a bit of a letdown, but after that silly A+X stuff, it's at least a nice change of pace to read something a little dirtier. That's probably the best compliment you can give this book. The visual art does set a perfect tone for what's supposed to be a stripped-down Wolverine story. As far as stories go, though, this would probably work better as one of those Lost Years Wolverine tales that takes place, between his origin and his superhero days, when he was kind of a, lost journeyman gun for hire. But to make a boring story short, while Wolverine is on the run with his trailer trash buddy, he realizes he's being strung along and manipulated, and finally decides to retaliate. Trailer Trash's partner in crime, Mother Night, has been hypnotizing Wolverine and using him as a weapon to murder people, like her rich husband, who she stands to inherit a ton of money from. Wolverine nicks her throat with his claws, presumably killing her, and impales the redneck son of a bitch. When a mysterious stranger in a limo shows up offering to help Wolverine out of his latest jam, Wolverine agrees to go with him, not caring whether he's trustworthy or not, because he's so depressed he really doesn't care what happens to him. And end.
Yeah, I mean, can we say non-climactic? This issue is just a nice little cap on a nice fucking shittiest arc I've ever read. I mean, we've had 2 issues of setup that didn't set up shit. We had boring illusions of fucking and badly drawn fuck scenes and a couple lame-ass MMA fights and Wolverine crying a lot, not knowing what's going on. That's what we've had for 2 issues, and then in the third one, at the very end of it, we finally get what's going on really fast, shoved in our face, and then the big reveal, like Wolverine uses one claw and nicks her neck. I liked when Magneto crushed MODOK with one hand gesture. I mean, like, at least that was more gangster than like, I could kill a chick with one blade. It's like, oh man, it was just. I know I don't like this book, period, but that was just an upsetting, stupid climax. And then, yeah, he guts the redneck who's, like, dying anyways. So, yeah, way to go, dude. Way to go, Wolverine. That is so gangster. Way to make fucking the Jock Archon fucking Savage Wolverine just look like the most action-packed, impactful, amazing fucking Wolverine thing that's come out from Marvel now in the recent months. I mean, honestly, you were going on about how uneventful that was. This made that look like fucking the Avengers movie, you know what I mean? Just, feast for the eyes.
And the sad thing is, there's evidence that they seem to get Wolverine. On at least some very basic level. You have the idea of him as a living weapon, but unfortunately for him, it's often other people pulling his trigger. This idea that he can feel pain that no one else can possibly ever feel, like pain at that level is only associated with injuries that would normally cause death in anyone else. I do kind of like him blowing out his own brains to scramble the hypnosis. I'm not like a brain surgeon, so I don't know if that works on even like a science fiction level, or if it's totally stupid. But it gets the job done. I don't know if the memories are like on the outside, and that's the part that gets scrambled by the shrapnel.
I thought he had an adamantium fucking skull, you know what I mean? Like, how's it gonna get blown out?
Well, there's no bone. Like, like your chin has kind of like an empty part in the middle. If you look back at it, he shoots the shotgun like up through his face. So it can kind of go into his skull, like through the chin part.
I suppose. I mean, like, I see what you're saying. They kind of get, like, the tropes of Wolverine, but they really don't get the character. They write him really stupid. The only person I know in the Marvel Universe that is as stupid as they write Wolverine in this book is Johnny Blaze, the Ghost Rider. But he's supposed to be stupid. That's, like, his character trait. Wolverine is actually supposed to be slightly intelligent, even though he lets his anger rule him. He actually understands what's going on, but not in this series. This guy's just kind of like, oh, man, I got a beer and a fucking guy in a box. That's all I need, He's nowhere near as retarded as he's written in this book.
The problem is they don't really seem to know what to do with him. The overall narrative of the series has been totally unengaging, or as Johnny put it,
the shittiest, boring, upsetting, stupid, uneventful.
I shudder to think what the end game is. With the title ending soon, I have no idea how they put any kind of a satisfying cap on it. Maybe it should have just ended open-ended right here.
Yeah. Well, I guess the whole series he's been trying to get to Las Vegas. There's something big going on there, and he's finally going to get there in this next issue with the David Lynch guy in the limousine. You know what I mean? I totally got like a Lost Highway feel from that shit. It's just like, all right, so we're going from like MMA, NASCAR chic to David Lynch, It's like, what are you trying to do with this, Jason Starr? I have no idea what the hell this guy's trying to do with this character in this book.
So, thumbs up or thumbs down and buy it or skip it?
Thumbs down, skip it. End of story.
Yeah, thumbs down here too. I guess a lot of his stories do kind of just wrap up with, and then Wolverine killed everybody. The end. But they can't really seem to find a balance between telling a basic meat and potatoes Wolverine story and challenging with villains on his level. I guess you're not going to bring, Apocalypse into this or something like that, but when he just runs over trailer trash and guts people like this, these villains are just so not on his level at all that it's almost kind of offensive to watch him kill them. He's killed, I guess it's kind of a thing where Wolverine doesn't really kill women, too. I guess he kind of killed Mystique a couple times, so maybe I can let that go. But yeah, it's whatever. So, just skip it, I actually thought this arc was one of the better out of the series, but you're not really missing much with this issue. So let's just move on to Longshot Saves Marvel Universe number 2. Okay, what have we got here? Doctor Strange goes all Frosty the Snowman, popping out of an amateur magic hat, and just at the right moment, saves Longshot from the all-white-faced in-betweener and his hostile S.H.I.E.L.D. takeover. It seems whatever happened when Longshot's luck power crossed paths with the reality-warping cosmic cube split the in-betweener into two, one being of pure order and one of pure chaos, and the all-white version in this new reality that was spun out of that has control of S.H.I.E.L.D. and is using it to hunt down all magic users, and eventually we see someday all mutants. Also wrapped up in this is a girl with a demonic teddy bear. I'll give you that they're not wasting a lot of time at least. Doctor Strange comes in, then immediately puts together a task force to take down this twisted version of S.H.I.E.L.D. And while most of them get captured, they succeed too well in the fact that they have all but crashed the helicarrier as it's hurtling back down towards Earth and about to obliterate a Longshot who may have pushed his luck too far.
Yeah, along with the all-black in-betweener, which is kind of really cool. He's got this crazy Native American look to him. I like that. I don't know, I liked all the weird cameos. I liked the Scarlet Witch chucking the car and them blowing it up and how it all worked out with Longshot's luck. That was all put together very clever. I liked when he jumps off the helicarrier, gets caught by Thor. That was really funny. So it's nice and silly, but in the good way, you know what I mean? In a way that's, you can actually enjoy reading this.
Silly is definitely the intention here. It's pretty much the point. But a lot of times I think silly is kind of one of the only ways that something like this can really work. When your character's power is basically shit just works out for him. Like you said, like jumping out of a plane. It's like, someone will probably catch me. It's really hard to play something like that straight, too much. Especially when you don't want to anyway. So that all works, but I don't have too much else to say about it. So unless you do, thumbs up or thumbs down and buy it or skip it.
I'm gonna go thumbs up. I had fun with it. I liked Doctor Strange popping out of the hat. I liked the teddy bear and the little girl are like the main focus of it. It was silly, kind of like in a good way, like I said. But I'm going to go ahead and say just get the trade paperback for when this comes out. It's going to be a nice fun little read, so.
I've got to go thumbs down. They keep repeating the same jokes. Every other page is, look, I got lucky. Look, every girl loves me. And the gimmick has just kind of worn thin on me already, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to go skip it too, unless you thought the first one was like one of the coolest things ever, then, obviously keep going with it. Moving on to X-Men Legacy number 20. X-Men Legacy number 20 was a damn good comic. They really push it with the visual art, with how much craziness you can take, at least for a Marvel book, I think. It's very trippy stuff, and all these ideas about Gestalt and Legion's mind being more than the sum of the parts. I mean, it's so crazy that it walks the full circle of crazy, doing a 360 till it gets back to normal again. It's also really classic X-Men Legacy misdirection. There was never anything so silly as a Shadow Phoenix weapon, not in this bloody book. It was a ploy, a ruse, a deception. Arcus actually feels indebted for Legion humbling him and helping him get his shit together, and wants to return the favor. So this whole thing about execution by Phoenix was just to scare him so witless that he gets his wits about him again. Most of the book is a trippy trip through his mind, but he comes out of it discarding the whole I rule me philosophy, because, all this junk in his psyche, it's all him. It's not like some country to rule by fear, like he's the tyrant doom lording over Latveria. All the desperate, quivering expressions of who he is are all, these mucky pieces inside of his brain. It's all him. So he stares down death and realizes that he needs to lead himself by example. Between that and this little treatise on death from the beginning, it's pretty epic shit, and reminds you what the name Legion really means. But yeah, that part about the hatred personified threatening to eradicate Earth, so far we think that's still pretty real, and as the book ends, a powered-up Legion takes off to confront it.
Right, yeah. And I mean, it was really interesting. I liked that they had you going. They really had you think that these people were trying to snuff him out. But really, they wanted him to finally get his shit together and realize he can get all of the powers that he has inside of his head to work together, and he can be his father's son finally. And like, that is so great that Argus, with his ruse, was able to actually make Legion something so powerful, something so poignant, something that he probably always should have been if he didn't always see himself as something that was broken. I loved it, you know what I mean? It was a great turnaround, and I like that he had to have Blindfold's help. That's one of the main key things about this series that's kept me going, is their relationship, and I like that their love is what actually helped him solidify himself too. And it was a minor point that they made in this book, but it was a very poignant one.
She was back at the Jean Grey school at this point, right?
I think so. I mean, like, they didn't really say where the hell she was, but yeah, like, Storm and shit was hanging around with her, and I think Psylocke, so yeah, I'm pretty sure she was at the goddamn fucking pirate ship school.
It was all X-Men staff there, so that's what it kind of looked like. I mean, I like your point about Blindfold, man. I mean, I don't want to go too power of love all over it, but,
I refute that!
Stop being such a soft twat.
Yeah.
Misfits references. I love them. But, yeah, thumbs up or thumbs down and buy it or skip it.
I'm going to go thumbs up. I'm going to give this one a big thumbs up. I like the twist. I like that the whole thing was to get him to fucking finally get his shit together, which is basically, like I said last week, what the core of X-Men Legacy, as long as I've read it, ever since Mike Carey started doing it with Professor X, which I find poignant that now it's about his son getting his shit together in the series, that I really just, man, it came full circle. It's really awesome. But I'm going to go and say, get the trade, man, because this is the middle to end of a great story arc. It's not a jump-on point, so wait till this is all run its course, and you will have one fucking great read.
Thumbs up. Maybe I'm just all fired up from reliving it here, but this book is magnificent. And buy it, because it's one that you'll probably want to read a few more times before the series ends. So, now moving along to Cable and X-Force number 16. Being my favorite comic, you'd think I'd be all excited to discuss this one first, but I guess sometimes I get in a save the best for last kind of mood. Besides, X-Men and Uncanny really made a great match for starting off this episode. Now, X-Force picks up right where it left off, which is exciting as we're already right in the middle of action. Colossus and Domino have to take down their Sentinel, which they do in great fashion. Once again, engaging, cleanly depicted action as Domino crawls into its mouth and makes it target itself, and then Colossus finishes it off wielding a 660-pound plasma torch as a sword. Of course, when things blow up, it starts an avalanche threatening them and the little town below. Over on Cable and Hope's side, a last-minute telekinetic force shield saves Hope from the bomb, but where did it come from? Not Cable, because later we see his TK is shorted out. Apparently shoving a giant knife into your brain can have an effect on your mutant powers, and all that leaking energy has left him burnt out. Luckily, it was Hope who sucked it all up, and she still got the power of a full telekinetic, so now it's all Hope unleashed. No more training time holding her back crap. With their weapons fried, she has to take out all the bad guys, and she's loving every minute of it, you know? Hope is in her glory. She's TK blasting everyone, having a ball, you know, till their backup arrives, and it's only like 3 more Reavers. They've got a magnet bomb thing that zaps up all the Reaver wreckage into like a super cyborg ball of destruction, leaving us for our cliffhanger for them. In my favorite segment, Boom Boom is dancing in a virtual club mindscaped by the Trickster.
Yeah, just like not even wondering like where the hell did this dance club come from? You know, what the hell's going on? No, she just like, oh man, they're playing dubstep, you know, boom, 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 getting it on, you know what I mean? She's just too fucking ditzy, but so cute.
Yeah, she's just like, it's okay, just dance. So she's instantly hypnotized by the sick beats, and Dr. Nemesis walks into this holodecked out club thing, and he's startled but not at all surprised that Boomer is just dancing, and didn't even stop to think like, hey, why the hell is this here? And the whole scene, I mean, it's just too funny. His plan is to suit up and go into Forge's mind frame. You know, he kind of just tells Tabitha, like, you know, yeah, good luck with the Trickster and all, you know, out here on the physical world. But I mean, presumably someone has to guard his body. Anyway, so once he gets there, he starts palling around with Forge, being his usual hilarious, sarcastic self. And then, as if he couldn't get any cooler, he starts talking Trek when he compares the adversary to Q.
Right. Which was hilarious, and yeah, and Forge, well, not everything's Star Trek, so I don't know what you're talking about. And then, yeah, Nemesis breaks it down really quick, and he's like, well, yeah, that's exactly like what he is. And it's just like, yeah, dick, so yeah, I was right. He is like Q.
Yeah, I mean, it's really not a bad comparison, you know? Obsessed with humanity, always starting up trouble, you know, Q was really Picard's trickster spirit.
Jean-Luc, it's wonderful to see you again. How about a big hug? We're not friends. You wound me, mon capitaine.
Okay, so they kind of pull a possession trope here, as they meditate on whether having mischievous spirit in his head is what drove Forge crazy before. You know, I mean, we saw the same thing with the Scarlet Witch and with Cyclops to an extent, and, you know, all the way back through time. But I like how they don't immediately know what set the spirit free. You know, it could have been a number of things that happened lately. Could have just been a matter of time. Either way, I mean, it's just a really realistic response, you know? They don't just magically guess the right thing on the first shot. That's kind of cool, like, they subverted the trope there, you know? So it evens the two out, I think. But anyway, the Trickster isn't so much out as he's taken over. And Forge and Nemesis aren't trapped in Forge's mind anymore. They're trapped in the adversary's mind, leaving us with their cliffhanger. And the thing about these cliffhangers in this book, I mean, all comics do them, but they seem a lot more natural here, or at least not forced. It's just like, I mean, when you're telling multiple stories across one book, you know, you got 3 parallel things running across it, eventually you just run out of pages, and it just has to, you know, pick up where you left off in the next issue. Like, it's more of a continuous thing, and not necessarily, like, you know, forced into it for more drama, or at least it just feels really fluid to me. I don't know, so,
Well, no, I get what you're saying, and I agree precisely. It's like you get a nice little episode of the fight, and then they find a nice little break in it. You know, it's almost like a good TV show, you know, the way that they leave you hanging without being a pissed off kind of cliffhanger. And I don't know, yeah, like I said, dude, Hopeless is like really just knocking this one out, and like he's really writing it well. And your favorite one was the one with Nemesis. I like the Domino and Colossus thing. Watching that Sentinel punch its head off was hilarious, man. That's one of the coolest things I've seen involving Sentinels in a long time. That really had me rolling. And yeah, Dom's just cool anyway, so.
yeah, man, I loved my stop hitting yourself meme. I was cracking myself up with that one, but
Right.
it's kind of an example of where you can have like a luck kind of power where shit just works out for you. And it's kind of funny, but not like totally campy, like in the long shot thing.
Well, yeah, I've never seen Domino actually ever explain her power. She never kind of seems to overtly rely on it in some cheesy way. She just knows it's always going to work, so she just does what she does, you know, without like, hey, watch this, it's going to work, you know what I mean? She just like knows it's going to work, so she fucking does it.
I guess it's a little more of a subtle thing that lets her just look extremely badass.
Yeah, exactly.
So thumbs up or thumbs down, and buy it or skip it.
Thumbs up, great read, good lines, good character development, good character interactions. But I'm going to say go ahead and get the trade because this is like probably the second to last issue of this arc. It's going to be a great trade paperback.
I want to go thumbs up. Yeah, this is another really solid issue. And I'll go with buy it because, like I said, it doesn't feel fillerish or mid-arc or setup or anything like that. You know, each issue is really just a continuous story and can be totally enjoyed as such. Alright, so moving into our previews. First up to bat is All New X-Men number 19. So, Purifiers as the next new villains. Oh, man.
Ooh, yeah. Fuck yeah, it's been a while, hasn't it? Right on.
Yeah, man, gotta love that. I mean, especially for the original 5, to see villains like the Purifiers. That's gotta be a bit of a hit, man. A mysterious girl mutant shows up. You know, I couldn't help but notice that X-23 is being advertised in All New X-Men number 20. So maybe this is where she really comes in? How would we feel about that?
I'm not sure. I mean, X-23 is cool and everything, but I kind of hope that they launch some more unknowns and bring them into All New and the Uncanny team, you know what I mean? Because they got some good kids running around, man, but they can use a few more, you know what I mean?
And I mean, we'll see how much we see X-23 and Uncanny X-Men, but I mean, All New X-Men is going to be kind of, you know, the door she walks into that universe from and meets the Uncanny team. Either way, at least X-23 is going to find a nice landing spot.
Oh, she always will. She's Wilf, man. Wolverine, I'd like to fuck. The Wilf is always gonna get a great fucking spot in a comic.
I'll never forget. I mean, I guess I do kind of forget because I forget where I heard it, but I always remember that joke about like the mock X-Men meeting where like the creators got together to talk about what to do next with the X-Men. And they're like, hey, people like that Wolverine guy, right? Let's put tits on that.
That's kind of what they did, but I like X-23. Basically, everything that they did wrong with Dakin, they did right with her, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And I know she's not even one of his kids, really. She's like a weird clone thing, but whatever. I like X-23 the best out of any of the, like, she's like Wolverine, she's from Wolverine, but she's not Wolverine kind of characters.
Yeah, it works well enough. I mean, it's so hard to do anything with, you know, children from superheroes because you either have to have them, you know, do like a Cable thing and be raised in the future and come back as adults, or you have to have just not known about them in the past and then they're grown up here as adults because, you know, like time just doesn't go. They don't age. It doesn't work. Moving on, we're also going to get Deadpool Annual, number 1. Or, you know, Deadpool's going to get his first annual of this new series. So after dragging Deadpool through the mud for a bit, you know, bringing the real character out, I think they want to take this annual and go kind of crazy with it. I mean, the whole thing is about the changing color in his speech bubbles in the comic. It's not the usual guys writing it, which is a shame, because I like the way they seem to handle Deadpool, or the way they handle, like, his goofier kind of parts. I mean, they give you the comedy that you expect, but it seems like they kind of play down the fourth wall thing a bit and play it more to his craziness, and, like, even what they've done with his history, kind of taking all the past versions and pointing them out as memory implants, making them all true and all false at the same time. Like, they really seem to have a good handle on how to spin all this comic book craziness.
They really are. And I like that they have the two writers. They got the comedian and the somewhat serious guy writing it. So you basically have the Deadpool dynamic at work with the writing. And I mean, it is fresh from, like, I like Danny Way's run. Danny Way is a cool writer and everything, but he really did just play to the silliness. But yeah, these guys are really trying to bring the character about, and they still have a lot of fun. I really like that arc where he was hanging out with Iron Fist and Luke Cage, where he had the afro and shit, and they were fighting the white pimp guy. Fucking hilarious, man. So this new Deadpool's probably one of the best series, aside from David Lapham's Deadpool Max in recent years, so I'll give this annual a looking, but yeah, it sucks that the two guys that have been writing it so far are not involved in this annual. I hate when they do that.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Fingers crossed, I guess. We're also going to get Savage Wolverine number 12. They're doing a thing in Madripoor, and that's pretty much awesome. You know, that's always a great location for Wolverine, I think. I think it's even better than Japan itself. Phil Jimenez, did I say that right? Phil Jimenez?
Jimenez.
Phil Jimenez?
Jimenez, yeah.
Is the featured creator, and he's taking on Poachers, which sounds like a totally Wolverine thing to do. I mean, as a writer, I think he's done lots of Wonder Woman, some Titan stuff, some Spidey, but not Wolverine before.
I hope he knocks it out. But, I mean, it's Savage Wolverine, and nobody's expecting perfection. I mean, we're coming off a Jock's run, which was really weird. We're also coming off of the thing with him and Elektra. This is the experimental Wolverine book that probably Wolverine Max should have been. And from what I see coming up in recent months for Savage Wolverine, this book looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, you know, even if we get a couple bad issues here and there. So, you know what I mean? Bring it on, Mr. Jimenez.
Yeah, man, I think Savage is going to have some good stuff coming up. We're also going to get Uncanny Avengers number 14. A mutant army is on its way to fight the Apocalypse Twins, and it seems Kang is forming an army of his own, made up of other baddies pulled from across timelines, so expect this to get a bit weird. Were it not for this show, I'd probably be totally waiting for this thing in trade paperback, especially with the way the story is kind of dragging. But each individual issue has been pretty interesting so far in some way or another.
Yeah, I like some of the really interactive stuff that's going on. I like the bit between Havoc and Banshee. Before that, I really like the stuff between Rogue and Sunfire and the Daken and a Wolverine Horseman. So there's cool character interactions going on. But yeah, for the main part, he's really trying to make a graphic novel out of this, you know what I mean? Remender, he's really trying to write out of his element. I think he's really impressed with what Hickman's doing with Infinity, and he's trying to do that in his own, and I don't think that he's really nailing it, because I don't think fucking, if he tried his entire life, that fucking Rick Remender could write something as just complex as the shit that Jonathan Hickman can come out with. They're just two different writers, you know what I mean? They're both great in their own rights, but I wish Remender would stick to, like, what he's good at, like the first two Uncanny Avengers books were, you know what I mean? This third one is kind of really off on tangents, you know what I mean? He's really trying to make it meta and all kinds of shit, and like, it's cool. He's trying to expand, but I think he's blowing it a little bit. But the series is still fun. He's not detracting from it in any great way. So I really hope it kind of wraps up with this arc, and he gets back to how it was the first two arcs. You know what I mean? Personally.
Oh yeah, man, I think I'm seeing a lot of the same things there. We talked about comics being written for the graphic novel last week a little bit, and yeah, this definitely, I think, is a good example. You know, what he's trying to do, like, with his style and kind of, like, you know, imitating another writer in a way, I think I kind of see the same thing here, too, but still, I was going to be checking out the issue, so. Also coming up is Uncanny X-Force number 14, the second-to-last issue for the arc, which so far has been pretty great. I mean, Cassandra Nova, Spiral, get it while the getting's good, because, I mean, after this, it's the crossover, and then it's over, I think.
Well, I mean, like, they're getting compressed, you know what I mean? They're going to get mixed up, and I guess Spiral's getting switched up for Marrow, which is kind of just as cool in my opinion. Marrow and Spiral, they're kind of like on that same level of just not used too much, but really cool villains from the 90s, you know what I mean? And I don't know, yeah, and I really like the Mumudgerai. I like what the kind of weird B-movie horror thing that Humphreys is doing with this book, even though it's really wild, and I guess a lot of people don't like it because it's not your average Marvel X-Men type of fucking storyline, but whatever, dude. This is something new, you know what I mean? I'm enjoying it, and this is going to be a great read. I'm sorry that it's ending, and like, whatever's going to happen with this book, I'm pretty sure it's going to be fine, because Cy Spurrier does not fuck around, so X-Force is still going to remain good, you know what I mean? Even though the two great books we have right now are going to be fused, and we're going to have another great book that Lord only knows how it's going to be when it comes out, but I'm fairly confident that it's going to rock.
Putting Spurrier in charge is a good way to kind of ease disappointment over losing this kind of a little more out there, experimental, very cool book. Oh, well, maybe we'll feel better after we read Wolverine and the X-Men number 38.
Yeah, man, we're probably going to get back to Wolverine and the Archies, you know. Wolverine and the Riverdale gang, they're probably going to find some new tween Justin Bieber villains to, like, come after him, you know, because, you know, they can't fight adult villains like normal X-Men because, hell, there aren't even really X-Men in this book. It's just Wolverine and a bunch of kids to give him shit the entire time. So, yeah, it's really going to make me feel so much better. They really should just bring Rudy fucking Misfits over, you know, have a fucking French monkey cheese salesman, you know, that would actually make this book readable, I think, you know what I mean?
For the comedy, innit, you know? That was better, come on, for the comedy. That works for me.
Oh man, if only. But let me refute that just a little bit, possibly, because I think we could almost be looking forward to this, because it seems like the book's last shot here is tackling the X-Men versus S.H.I.E.L.D. event they set up. Which, I mean, we've seen a bit in Uncanny now, too. Now, I know technically X-Men S.H.I.E.L.D. is not like a true event, like AVX or something, but I think I can only hope that, you know, like in Battle of the Atom, the event, as I'm kind of calling it, you know, kind of hijacks the book, therefore elevating it.
So you think that this is going to not involve Quire and his girlfriend and Brew like the rest of the Wolverine and the Riverdale gang's been, and this is actually going to be like him and like people like Rachel Gray and Psylocke kicking the shit out of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Now that is a book that I could read, you know? That's something that I'd actually be interested in seeing Jason Aaron do, but I really don't think that that's what we're going to get out of this. You know, you read Amazing X-Men 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago.
Well, I mean, I got so used to Battle of the Atom taking it over. And that's the only kind of real analogy I was trying to push here, is that it seems like, you know, X-Men versus S.H.I.E.L.D. is taking place in more than just one comic. So it's a little bit of a crossover-y kind of thing. It's like, you know, maybe someone kind of put the main idea in place, and that kind of takes over the book and makes it better. Or, yeah, I don't know, maybe Quentin Quire will just win the day.
Yeah. He'll get the girl, you know, like, and he'll give that old crabster Wolverine what for, you know what I mean? Teach him his lesson, like old Archie always does.
Well, hey, man, I mean, if we don't totally enjoy that one, we also get the Wolverine and X-Men annual.
That's right, we're getting a double digest of Wolverine and the Archies, you know what I mean? I love when you go to the supermarket and you see Archie's double digest, and we're getting that this month from Wolverine and the Archies. That's amazing. What's going to be happening in this one? Are they going to go to, like, the milkshake place, get some milkshakes, you know, and maybe, like, go roller skating or something?
Well, it's going to be milkshakes in space, because we're going to get Kid Gladiator, the return people have been clamoring and protesting Marvel for.
Really?
Wait, no, that didn't happen, did it?
Yeah.
Well, the protesting part, but yeah, no. Kid Gladiator is going to come into it. They're doing kind of like an Infinity crossover thing here, an Infinity tie-in, I guess, for this book. Which, I mean, I'm not sure what's more of a waste, like doing an annual for a book that's about to end anyway, or making an event tie-in. I mean, usually I love annuals because you get like a big comic book with a more complete story. At least that's what you get in the kind I like.
Is this annual going to be written by Cheese Master Aaron himself, or is this going to be written by some Dubois that fucking, like, just they put on the title because it's a cheeseball annual, like the Deadpool thing?
I believe it's going to be our regular writer, Jason Aaron.
Alright, okay then. Kid Gladiator looks like some kind of fucking Bozo the Clown reject anyway, so expect some juggling, you know what I mean?
Cataclysm Ultimate X-Men number 1 of 3. So it's out of the fire and into the frying pan, which I guess is pretty typical for heroes, especially mutants. And in some ways, this makes World War X even more epic, because, I mean, if even the story that follows it has to be this huge game changer, you know, what's that say about it? My biggest worry is that with whatever comes out of Cataclysm and the plans for the Ultimate World, that I'll still just end up preferring the ending from Ultimate Comics X-Men. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. And the good thing that I like about these Ultimates events is that you don't have to read each issue. You know what I mean? If you don't read the Ultimates, you don't have to get the Ultimates book to know what's going on in the X-Men one. They're self-contained from title to title, which is really cool. So if you only want to know what's going on with the X-Men, the Ultimate X-Men, you only got to read these 3 issues of Ultimate X-Men. I love that. I mean, of course, when the hardback comes out, it's going to have all the events just like United We Stand, Divided We Fall did, but collecting issue to issue, you don't have to worry about, you know, having to get the entirety of the fucking Catechism crossover. And I've been a bit apprehensive of this, but I saw the cover, and dude, Rogue is looking smoking on that, so I mean, I'm looking forward to it a little bit now.
One kind of like on the bright side way to look at it, I guess. I mean, Brian Wood isn't writing it, so he basically put his finale on his version of the Ultimate X-Men.
Yeah, which is tragic. I don't know why they'd have anybody else writing these characters, but is Spencer coming back at least, or who's writing this?
Joshua Hale Fielkov.
Oh, Josh, okay, he's the guy that wrote I Vampire at DC. He's actually pretty good, so.
Okay, so that wraps up that segment. What should we do next? You want to spike the punch, man?
Fuck yeah, spike it up, bro.
Oh, yeah!
Alright, Spiking the Punch is a segment where Johnny and I each recommend one non-X-Men related comic. Johnny, what's your pick for the week?
My pick, I'm going back to my normal Purge Image Comics with Zero #3, which is really kind of a cool take on the spy genre, and I'm recommending this issue because the first 2, fun as they are, they were kind of just weird flashback episodes, and this one, there is a villain, and it's not just flashes from the past. This is kind of a really kind of cool but well-treaded take on the spy genre. It harkens to stuff like Point of No Return, La Femme Nikita, and movies like Soldier, with these kids that were just trained to be killers. Basically, this guy, he is Edward Zero, and like he has just been trained since childhood to see targets. You know, there's no people, there's no love, there's nothing for him. He is actually told that he is nothing.
he's zero. So, I mean, he's got this really nihilistic look at everything, and that's how he's been brought up. And basically, he has this handler that's the only person he kind of thinks of as a family, and this girl that he kind of grew up with that he's not supposed to show that he has any feelings for, but he actually loves. But like in the first 2 issues, you get this feeling that he goes rogue somewhere along the line, and this one really sets it up because you finally meet the villain, who is this guy who basically is starting up this really funny terrorist Kickstarter thing, and he's got this gala going on trying to sell these people this teleporter he's got, kind of Stargate-esque looking thing, but unlike going to heaven, this one only takes people to Ottawa, Canada, which is, you know, shitty. So, but like, basically, dude is supposed to be killing these guys and getting away with the one dude, you know what I mean? He's supposed to capture him, but basically his girlfriend was his backup, and she gets caught and interrogated and tortured, so he kind of blows the mission, goes to save her, and basically, yeah, he ends up having to snuff his target, which they haven't explained it, but he's able to take a bullet to the head and not die. Dude goes through the Stargate with his girlfriend, but his girlfriend doesn't make it all the way through, and all that comes out is her arm. Whether she's dead or not, we don't know. All we know is he thinks that she's dead, and this is his breaking point, and I think the rest of the series is going to be just really fucking awesome and hardcore, kind of twist on the spy genre, little book that Image is putting out right now.
This series is pretty all over the place, man, and I love it for it. You know, it's part real World War story, you know, like using the Middle East conflicts as, you know, something in the first issue. It's part spy series, but not like dapper James Bond, you know, shake my martini stuff. More like shoot anyone in the face who happens to see you and might be a witness. And very sci-fi, you know, with enhanced soldiers and teleportation devices, you know, at least, you know, leading up to this. The thing with this series, you know, visually, is the constant changing art. Like, every issue is a whole new style, which is, you know, kind of experimental and cool, but could be off-putting to some. Loved the first, didn't care for the second. And then this issue, you know, the one you're recommending, I especially loved for the kind of the neon pastel coloring. And I guess it was a little more dapper spy agenty in it, you know, cocktail dresses and all that. But the reason I think this is such a great spiking is because of how it mixes all those different elements together. You know, all the different elements I mentioned previously. Especially for someone who's more into capes and powers, it's a great intermediary book because it has those sci-fi elements in it. So you've got like a transition, you know? You're not stepping so far out of your comfort zone, like say, you know, going from reading Superman to like a straight noir comic or something. It's a good mingling.
Right, and I get what you're saying, yeah. The changing of artists I found very entertaining. It kind of really reminded me of indie books like Jim Kruger's Foot Soldiers, where he always had different artists working on that with him. And then, yeah, this one kind of looked like a mix between Paul Pope and Sean Phillips' art, you know what I mean? Which is kind of a nice little mix, you know? You had the noir coloring with the kind of very indie art, and fucking nice looking, you know what I mean? It's perfect for the type of book that it is.
Yeah, man, this issue 3 of Image Comics Zero would be a really neat comic to have in your collection. I'm going to recommend Grim Fairy Tales Presents Wonderland number 17. So Zenescope has a reputation as a cheesecake comic company, and their gorgeous pinup-style comic covers are absolutely one of the main attractions. I mean, sometimes they're more than that, and sometimes they give into it. You know, I'm not really here to defend Zenescope, but I guess in a way I am because I'm recommending Wonderland 17 as a comic that falls in somewhere, you know, between the middle of those two extremes. You know, their bread and butter here is twisting classic fairy tales, making them darker and adding more sexuality. The basic premise is that Wonderland is another dimensional realm, a place of madness that has ruined the lives of almost everyone who's ever encountered it. Kaylee and her daughter Violet are from the Alice bloodline. They're our main characters here, and they're on the run from this madness. Its setup reminds me a lot of the Sarah Connor Chronicles TV show. You know, we've got, like, you know, mother and child team up on the lam, running from the bad guys, like, in a way, really running from their destiny, until they decide to turn around and fight back. Along the way, they make various allies and enemies, and in this issue, they pay a visit to a doctor who was part of the original Wonderland experiments. If you're into this series, it's very important in that regard, and Kaylee especially is looking for a way to tap into the power that she has in other dimensions to use it here. There's also a side story with like a monster-sized Cheshire cat and a sexified Mad Hatter chasing down an escaped heir to Wonderland power. There's some trickery there between the villains, which I always love, and our heroes here are really hard-hitting badass chicks. It's been a while since I checked in on Wonderland, but I'm really glad I did, and I'm not gonna lie, a lot of like my investment in this issue, I mean, This issue is all tits and knives and crowbars and baseball bats. And, that's what Zenescope does. It kind of takes the side of comics aren't really for kids anymore. I mean, technically they do have another all-ages imprint, but anyway, what I'm trying to get to here is that when you're young, they tell you that dirty jokes and sex and violence are mature and not for you. Then you grow up, you're all told, like, you're too old for all that juvenile junk entertainment. I mean, when the fuck are you supposed to enjoy it, man?
I suppose I like the art style in this, and I like what they were trying to do, but I'm more of a Vertigo Comics, Fables, and Ferris kind of guy. This kind of really didn't jive with me too much at all. I mean, like, if I wanted to read, like, a kind of cool twist on a fairy tale, I'd check out Image Comics' Peter Panzerfaust, personally. That's like a cool World War II take on the Peter Pan legend. Like I said, this had great art in it. And like you said, it had tits and crowbars and stuff like that. So, I mean, if, like, you really miss, like, Chaos Comics and stuff like that, I mean, check this out. But
I think the reason it works for comic book-wise is because they do kind of, they twist their fairy tales and, they throw in all the sexual stuff. But they also keep it, like, real, like, kind of comic booky. Like, it's not always, like, straight-up superhero kind of stuff. But they kind of keep it as comic books for adults in that way. And, one of the reasons I recommend this issue specifically was also, pushing the sexuality again. A lot of times, like, you see some of these companies, they've got, these gorgeous, gorgeous pin-up style covers. But then you open the book and it kind of looks like crap inside.
Well, Zenescope's guilty of doing that a lot of the times too, but this issue is not one of those. This one actually has great art on the inside, so I will give it thumbs up for that.
Exactly. And that's why I'm recommending Wonderland 17, because it's a prime example of all the things Zenescope can do. It's written by Raven Gregory, one of their best writers, and it's the kind of book that really sums up what the company is, and then is probably of some of the highest quality that they can put out. So, keeping with the whole sexy vibe, let's do our sexiest moment. Sex with a capital X, the sexiest moment of the week.
Oh my.
I have a runner-up, and I have a sexiest moment. My runner-up is the one where Karima and M see the SUVs, and, like, Karima's doing the turnaround, and M's still running. Very sexy panel. But my sexiest moment of the week has to be the I think you dropped your towel, Mr. Deeds panel from fucking Uncanny X-Men. God, Emma was just, bam, smoking in that, dude. I mean, I don't care if Benji Boy was gay or not, man. I guarantee you he had a boner.
Yeah, man, how could you not? I mean, not bad choices either, man. I mean, you can pick almost any panel from X-Men number 7. That was good shit. I mean, pretty much any one of them, like, you can go with it. But yeah, I mean, easily Uncanny X-Men 14. I mean, it's not like Emma was even naked or anything like that. But, I mean, you just walk out of the shower, nothing but your towel, and she's waiting for you in your room. I mean, that's how so many fantasies start.
Right? I mean, that's basically any X-Men male fan's fucking dream, you know what I mean? Everybody was just like, damn, I wish I was Benji Boy right now.
And that was a nice little outfit, man. She was looking very fine. I mean, that was going to be mine, and I knew it the second I laid eyes on it. But I'll go with the little black dresses.
Humana, ha, wah.
Oh, yeah, and when they're actually at the casino, are we going to rob this place? Maybe after we see how the kid does. Yeah, that's really hot, too. You got a thing for magic anyways, so yeah.
Yeah, that I do, man. I mean, I kind of spoiled my choice earlier in the episode, I guess, but I mean, if Emma and Magic can look that good just on their own, kind of like an on-the-fly kind of thing, imagine when all the women in Uncanny go and do Girls' Night Out next issue.
Oh, yeah, dude, that shit's gonna be funny. And like I said, I think that Brian Michael Bendis read that thing that Brian Wood said about if they were ever gonna do an all-girls thing at the Xavier School, and he's like, I don't know, it's Brian's book. I think that he saw that they mentioned that, and he's like, that's not a bad idea, I'm gonna go ahead and do that and have all the girls from my school, have a little adventure for once, and right on, you know what I mean? They got some craziness going on, so can't wait to see it.
Okay, so everyone, I hope you enjoyed reliving all the previous X-Men comics with us. And I also hope that you come back to help us relive all the next issues that we just previewed when they eventually come out, and join us to pick some of our favorite sexy little segments, to make other recommendations, and who knows, maybe even throw another surprise segment someday. In the meantime, make sure to look us up on Facebook.com/AllAboutX-Men Comics Podcast, our new home on the web where you can find pictures, memes, and hopefully lots of good X-Men conversation. As well, of course, the links to plenty of episodes. So, that pretty much wraps everything up. We'll see you then.